Hello everyone and welcome back to Divergent Reactions. Today on the channel I'm going to react to something a little bit different to what I normally do. It's an about the band, but this one is The Success of Floor Jansen. It's a short documentary from 2021 by Thoth Productions. I have had some issues getting some Nightwish songs through the whole system and doing reactions. So I figured I'd do more of like these about the band kind of videos to learn a bit more about them, rather than just jumping into a music video every single time and then you guys don't get to see it because it gets blocked. So I'm going to try this instead and see if I can just learn a bit more about them. You know, gives us something to watch and enjoy as well. So, and maybe if you're not familiar with Nightwish, maybe you'll learn something as well. So let's go.
Symphonic metal. In the world of symphonic metal, we know only a few major female voices, like Tarja Turunen, Sharon Den Adel, Simone.
Oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to have to do. That voice is too slow. That voice is way too slow. It sounds like an automated voice. I'm sorry if it's not an automated voice. If there's somebody behind that voice, I do apologize, but it's too slow for me.
In the world of symphonic metal, we know only a few major female voices, like Tarja Turunen, Sharon Den Adel, Simone Simons, and Flora Johnson. They are all great and widely appreciated for being amazing performers. With that said, each one of them has their own unique approach towards singing, and definitely a different style. Flora Johnson is certainly high up there on this list because she has a rich history with this genre, and now she is the frontwoman for one of the best bands in this genre, Nightwish.
Truth.
But how did she get here? Let's find out. When she was little, Flora Johnson always wanted to be a biologist. She was very passionate about everything in this field, and she actually played the biologist character on the Aryan album The Source. However, her love for metal music surpassed everything, and that's the reason why she wanted to join a band to showcase her art, craft, and ideas. And she did, because Flora Johnson actually joined the symphonic metal band After Forever in 1997. She was 16 at the time, and she was very excited to help the band while also pursuing a career in the music industry.
1981? Okay. The early 40s then.
The band was first known as Apocalypse, and eventually it was renamed to After Forever. After 3 years with the band, they released their first album, which was named Prison of Desire. The interesting thing for Flora Jansen is that she co-wrote most of the songs with Mark Jansen. He left the band later in 2002, and that left her as the sole composer for the band.
Let me know in the comments.
It's important to note that Flora Johnson did have a short time with the band while she worked as a singing teacher. Eventually, things got better financially, and she was able to pursue her dream of working full-time as a musician. One of the bandmates, Sander Gomans, had to deal with a lot of burnout, and they all decided that they have to take a year off from the band. This started in January 2008, but eventually, in February 2009, the band just decided to quit and stop producing any music. However, Flora Johnson didn't stop from her endeavors, since she continued writing music with Jorn-Viggo Lofstad in order to create a new musical project. Their project would eventually be named Northward 10 years later, but at that point, it was just a simple, unnamed project.
10 years later?
It didn't take a lot of time for Flora Johnson to act.
I'm going to pause that a second, actually. So in 2009, they did a project. So that came out in 2019 then, I'm guessing. Long time. But then again, so many bands that have these projects do that. They take years to release it, whether it's because of finances or the position they're in. Like, I'm guessing we're gonna learn more about it in this video. But like Stone Sour would be a great example of that. You know, Stone Sour were around, I don't think they were around before Slipknot, but they were certainly around way before they got famous as a side project, and then release the material afterwards. So yeah, it's not uncommon that happens. I was just surprised at the timescales.
Actually figure out what she would do once After Forever was over. In fact, in October the same year, 2009, she announced via her MySpace page that she would create a new band named Revamp. The first album was actually produced alongside Joost van den Broek, who was the keyboardist for After Forever. She also had Waldemar Sorichta and Jaap Melman as producers and songwriters. It was announced in 2011 by Van Canto that Flora Johnson was suffering from burnout, and because of that, they would not be able to enter the Out of Dark tour. During that same year, Jansen did join Mark Jansen after Forever in order to help his band with their Latin American tour. She also joined the Adrenaline Mob on stage, both at Weird and Bochum. Despite all of that wide range of cameos, she also worked on Revamp's second album, which eventually got named Wildcard and got released in 2013.
Oh, hang on, sorry.
However, during this...
So the side project was run in 2009 then, not 2019. Okay. The timescales, the 10 years thing confused me then.
Time, she also started working with Nightwish as their vocalist, since they remained without a vocalist at that time. It was due to that the Revamp had to break up in 2016, since Flora Johnson was unable to be 100% there for both bands. She decided to go on with Nightwish at her 100%, so Revamp members decided to break up and not continue creating or playing music anymore. Flora Johnson started singing for Nightwish as soon as Annette Olzon decided to part ways with the band in 2012. At first, Nightwish needed a replacement for her during the Imaginarium World Tour in 2012. Flora Johnson's first show was actually in Seattle, and it took place in October of that year. She was a bit scared to take this on because she didn't have enough time to learn every song, and obviously, being the singer of a very reputed band was a very big deal. However, Flora Johnson did very well, and she eventually got past all those challenges, and she settled in with the band very well. In fact, in 2015, Nightwish released their first album with Flora Johnson as their vocalist, an album named Endless Forms Most Beautiful, and out of this tour they actually created Vehicle of Spirit, the second...
I'm guessing there's 3 years between joining Nightwish, and if there's 3 years between joining Nightwish and do the first album, they must have, say it takes a year to kind of record an album, it must have been the tour, I'm guessing that tour must have been huge, that she joined them on the start of around 12, 13, 14 maybe. And then you knuckle down for writing for a year. So yeah, I suppose that's right. It's not very often you get bands, unless they're first starting out, it's not very often you get singers coming in, touring music as a new singer, then recording to such an extent. If that's true, if that was a year or two of touring, I'd be interested to know more about that. Was it a short tour and then they had a big break to write, or would it have been a big tour with a short break to write and then the album? Let me know. It's impressive. It's really impressive. So I say you've got to learn all the songs, especially being a big band already, as they were, relatively.
A live album that would feature Flora Johnson. They went onward to create more music with Flora Johnson and performed live, with Human Nature being the second studio album with her as the vocalist. This album was released in April 2020, and she continues to be a part of the band even at this particular time. As we already mentioned, Flora didn't stop at working with just a single band. Her creativity was really pushing the boundaries, and she was trying to work with a plethora of different bands the best way that she could. She actually worked on 3 Aryan albums as backing vocalist, as a character named Forever, and then she also played the biologist on The Source album. Aside from that, she also became a member of the Star One heavy metal supergroup, created by Aryan project creator Aryan Anthony Lucassen. That's why she was featured on their studio albums Victims of the Modern Age and Space Metal. She got featured in the Aryan Universe album, which was a collection of live music for the fans. In 2013, she performed as the main vocalist for the Avalon Metal Opera Act. The album that she worked on was named Angels of Apocalypse, and it was released in 2014. She was even guest singer for the Nightmare Metal band. So yes, she always liked the idea of contributing to a variety of bands. Her project named Northward was unveiled in 2018, and it was at that time when they were able to record the album they started working on around 10 years ago.
Okay, so
this album is special because it has a duo with Flora Johnson's sister named Irene. An important thing to note is that Flora Johnson participated on the Beste Zangers TV show, and she impressed everyone with her voice. Her single during that show actually remained the #1 position in the Dutch charts, which encouraged her to create a solo tour.
I don't know anything about this TV show. I'm guessing Beste Zangers is Best Singers. So, is it a talent show for people who are already singers? Because that would... in the same way you'd have like the Eurovision Song Contest. That's all I can think of as an equivalent.
Flora Johnson participated.
Yeah, that's all I can think of, because it seems like a strange concept for a show to have singers that are already famous singers, unless it's something like The Masked Singer, where they're covered up in masks and make a game show out of it. Let me know in the comments. I'm not familiar with the concept of that show. I've seen it for amateur singers. Nobody knows who they are. And I've seen professional singers in Eurovision Song Contest, but not like this guy.
Participated on the Beste Zangers TV show, and she impressed everyone with her voice.
Like
Her single during that show
styles.
actually remained the #1 position in the
to.
Dutch charts, which encouraged her to create a solo tour. The venues were all sold out for that tour, and it showed her that there is a demand for her to just sing live on her own if possible. Flora Johnson has a varied vocal range, which allowed her to assist so many different bands. She can go from one vocal range to another while still pushing the boundaries and coming up with something unique and different. She can sing everything from belting to classical, while also integrating things like death growls and screaming. She is a soprano that has a range of more than 3 octaves. Flora Johnson did study music at the Rock Academy in 1999, and she even entered the Conservatorium at Tilburg in 2002. She spent a year at the opera and she studied musical theater. After splitting from After Forever, she actually started teaching performing in her dedicated class named Wanna Be a Star. Although she is a singer at heart, the truth is that Flora Johnson can play the flute, piano, and guitar. This is mostly due to her many years of musical studies. Not only is she a very good singer, but she managed to master pretty much everything in this field.
Virtuoso.
She can write songs, perform them, while also being able to handle a few instruments here and there. It's interesting to note that a new species of beetle discovered by Andreas Weigel actually has her name.
Brilliant.
This is mostly thanks to her amazing passion for biology that never left her life.
enough.
She was excited to hear this and even spread the news on her Facebook page.
I think doesn't Brian May, because obviously Brian May did, was it astrophysics? He did it at university. I'm pretty sure that maybe he's got something named after him in the science field for a similar reason. Maybe.
Flora Johnson has a very rich history in the musical industry, and she managed to accomplish quite a lot of things with multiple bands. Despite the fact that some of her bands eventually disbanded, she always continued creating or performing music. She never left this dream, and it's something that continues up to this date. That's what makes Flora Johnson an incredible performer, because she has an extraordinary set of skills, and she continues to perfect them in ways we could never imagine. She is currently performing with Nightwish, but she's also working on a variety of personal projects too.
Very good. That was good. That was a good documentary, that one. Enjoyed that. First, I wasn't sure what to expect, but that was really good. So yeah, kudos to Thoth Productions. Please go and subscribe. In fact, I'm going to go and subscribe now, actually, and support. There we go. That was a really good documentary. I enjoyed that. So yeah, please let me know if you think there's anything else to react to. Maybe the different singers of Nightwish or different bands even. I do plan on doing some more of these kinds of things in the future. But yeah, I learned a lot there. I learned a lot. I didn't realise that she was had such a rich history in the field that she's in, music field that she's in, with her previous bands. So yeah, that especially was really interesting. Because she's obviously had a career 10-15 years before that. So yeah, fascinating. Thank you so much for watching this. If you're still here, please watch another video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.